Out front next, the breaking news, fighting fire with fire. Governor Gavin Newsom of California, you see there live, taking on Trump. The state now on track to add more Democratic seats, just as Texas is about to do for the GOP. Plus, more breaking news. New satellite images reveal a secret North Korean missile base that has the potential to hit cities across the United States. So how much help is Kim getting from Putin on this? And an out front investigation tonight. One brave doctor's rant against insurance companies goes viral. And now, wait till you see the blowback. Let's go out front. Good evening, I'm Erin Burnett. And out front tonight, the breaking news, payback. Governor Gavin Newsom of California taking on Trump. The governor is about to speak any moment after California just paved the way for Democrats to add 5 congressional seats. That magic number 5, right? Lawmakers just passing a proposal to change the map in California. Gavin Newsom saying he is, quote, fighting fire with fire. As Texas, of course, is moments away from passing a GOP plan to add 5 GOP seats. And this is why the stakes could not be higher. And for Newsom and Democrats across the country, this fight is not just about California.
It's all at stake. It's happening in real time. People need to wake up, need to open their eyes. He's rigging the 26th election before one vote is even cast. He's going after redistricting, not just mid-decade, but he's also talking about who should be included in the next census. Across the spectrum, these are acts of authoritarianism.
All right, now speaking bluntly like that has made Newsom a hero among many in his own party. He's even flat out mocking Trump using his own social media strategy, writing in all caps, well, wow, the best maps ever made will soon pass in the greatest legislature anywhere in the world, not just America. These are perfect, beautiful maps, better than Columbus, better than Google Maps, better than Apple Maps. Sorry, Tim, no gold bar for me, but I still love you. The golden era begins in the Golden State, all because of me. Signed, GCN. Of course, his initials, just like Trump. And that's not all. Newsom also posting, today we will make the maps great again. And when you see it, it may sound funny. Maybe you think it sounds funny. Maybe you don't like it. But just like many of Trump's posts, it is no laughing matter. You laugh and then you say, wait a minute, this is real. Trump and his supporters believe that he is starting a movement across the country to gain Republican seats, redrawing maps in every single state that they can.
Now we understand Missouri may be looking at doing the same thing.
And Indiana and Florida, maybe. I think Ron DeSantis is going to do it too.
So for Newsom, he's taking a different strategy than other Democrats. When the Republicans go the way they go, if they're going to go low, well, so what? It's best to let Newsom speak for himself.
We're fighting fire with fire, and we're going to punch these sons of bitches in the mouth.
Well, Steve Contorno is out front live in Sacramento, California. Of course, we are waiting Governor Newsom to speak live any moment from now, Steve. So this is a crucial moment. California state senators speaking now. This bill has passed there in the Senate. So that would, if this all plays out through voters, 5 additional Democratic seats would be added in the state of California. What is the latest right now?
Well, state lawmakers right now making very clear that they didn't start this fight, but they are happy to get into the fight. And they passed these new maps, and Governor Newsom is expected to sign them at any moment. But let's be clear, this is the beginning of a very long fight in California. That is because we still need voters to approve these maps, and they will have the chance to do so on November 4th. Newsom and Democrats are on one side, asking them to give them the power to override the constitutionally mandated independent redistricting commission and let them draw these Democratic favoring maps themselves. Republicans will be joined by the former governor of the state, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and others who say 2 wrongs do not make a right, and voters should reject this amendment. Well, we expect this to be an incredibly expensive battle. In fact, talking to both sides, they think when it's all said and done, more money will be spent in California on this question for voters than in any political contest across the country. In fact, just moments ago, Newsom's political team telling me that they have raised $6.2 million in just the last week alone from more than 200,000 donations, showing there's a lot of energy for this fight.
That's pretty incredible. $6.2 million in just these days. All right, Steve, thank you very much. And I said that the governor of California will be speaking momentarily as he signs this. Let's listen in to Gavin Newsom here.
The Japanese were interned and bussed in Little Tokyo last week in Los Angeles were sent right there in front of the Democracy Center as we kicked off this effort. That's a preview of things to come all across the United States of America. Mark my word, just as we let folks know what was going to happen in other cities, what is happening in Washington, D.C., we said 2 months ago, Los Angeles is a preview of things to come with the federalization of the National Guard, with the militarization of the streets of America. And I'll remind you, Donald Trump never sent the military, active duty military, in his first term or now even his second term, anywhere overseas. He sent them to a United States city. They remain federalized National Guard, interestingly, through Election Day. $175 billion in the bill that was just signed to reinforce the ranks of ICE, Homeland Security, for what is increasingly becoming self-evident to anyone with eyes wide open and any level of objectivity, a private army for Donald Trump, owing an oath only to him, not the Constitution of the United States. You just heard from the Speaker that vote-in-mail ballots are being threatened by the President of the United States. 80% of Californians, no coincidence, 80% submitted their ballots in the last election, 86% in 2022, 88% in 2020. He's trying to rig the election. He's trying to set up the conditions where he can claim that the elections were not won fair and square. Open your eyes to what is going on in the United States of America in 2025. That's what this is about. We're responding what occurred in Texas. We're neutralizing what occurred, and we're giving the American people a fair chance. Because when all things are equal, and we're all playing by the same set of rules, there's no question that the Republican Party will be the minority party in the House of Representatives next year. We'll be transitioning, and I'll close, from this process that has unfolded over the course of the last few weeks to the campaign after I sign these two pieces of legislation establishing a special session and the maps.
All right, listening to the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, very clear, saying that what they just did in California, signing to get those 5 additional Democratic seats on map redistricting, is neutralizing what happened in Texas. But perhaps his strongest words were referring to what President Trump is doing now in Washington, D.C. And of course, we were on the ground in L.A. when the National Guard was there. He is referring to that as a private army now of Donald Trump. Jamal Simmons is here with me, along with former Minnesota Governor Tim Pawlenty. Mimi Rocah is also with us. Sorry, Mimi, former district attorney for Westchester County in New York. And I appreciate all of you. Jamal, hearing Gavin Newsom, right there, we were talking about how he's using he's calling it like he sees it. Yeah. In his view, if you open your eyes, you will see this. And saying that this is, I thought the words there, private army, were very strong, but taking on, say, Arnold Schwarzenegger, who says he's signing the bill right now, signing the bill here. So we'll watch that as you're talking. Two wrongs don't make a right, says Arnold Schwarzenegger, who, by the way, is one of the biggest and fiercest Trump critics around.
That's right.
But Newsom says, yes, they do. This is about neutralizing.
It is. What's happening right now, Aaron, is that Democrats are fighting back in a way that a lot of Democratic voters want them to. You see these national polls that say even though Democrats don't like the idea of political redistricting, they know we have to do something. The Democratic governors have to do something to push back and to fight for it. A lot of Democrats have been reforming themselves into this corner because we tried to get politics out of redistricting. And so now you've got these extra hurdles that Democratic governors have to jump in order to get this back on the ballot and to get this done. In Republican states, that's not true because the Republicans didn't really go through independent redistricting commissions in the same way Democrats did.
So, Governor Pawlenty, when you hear Gavin Newsom speak there, He is, and I think this is interesting because he was the guy doing a podcast talking to Steve Bannon and saying the solution here is to talk to the other side, and he did that, and maybe some agree with him on that. He didn't feel it was working, and so he said, you know what, I'm going to try something different. And so he is. And so you heard how he spoke, a private army of Donald Trump, that he is signing this because you got to open your eyes and see what's happening in this country. It's about rigging the next election. Earlier today, he said a couple of things I think that are worth playing in that vein.
If you're going up against an opponent that is not playing by the rules, that's cheating, it's malpractice not to do something about that. This guy doesn't play by any rules, Donald Trump. It's the rule of Don, not the rule of law.
Will this work, Governor?
Well, on the political and legal side, Aaron, of course, there was a 2019 Supreme Court decision which said it's legal to redistrict for political means and political objectives. So that's going to be litigated. And the other side of that argument is going to be these districts were drawn with some sort of racial discriminatory intention or impact. But beyond the legalities of it, this is going to work in Texas. They are going to pass this bill, already have, and same in California. And just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. I wish they weren't doing it, but they are. And you're going to see more of it in other states. It's unfortunate, but unfortunately, we are just in a bare-knuckle political environment, and Gavin Newsom has picked up the gloves.
Right. I mean, you know, yes, there's Arnold Schwarzenegger saying 2 wrongs don't make a right. And then there's, well, if somebody's going to do something, what are you going to do about it? Mimi, I mean, I guess the question for Democrats is whether the Democratic seats in California will actually happen and hold. I mean, first of all, this is essentially signed and sealed because of the way the California electorate breaks out. But it does have to be approved by voters in November. And then there's just the legality itself. So is this a done deal? 5 more seats in California for Democrats?
Well, I mean, I think as everyone has said here, you know, the Supreme Court basically took itself out of this, right? They washed their hands of this, said this is up to each state. And in California, there is an additional hurdle, whether as a political matter, they can get this passed now by the voters. As you said, there'll be an expensive campaign to do so. But, you know, we're going to see this in state after state. And that all goes back to, once again, the Supreme Court saying we're taking federal limits out of this. You can't really litigate this anymore, the limits of redistricting in the federal court, unless there's sort of racial bias can be shown. And so, you know, I think, as everyone has said, I mean, this is going to be a state by state fight now, for better or worse.
Well, I guess you see the ugly side. You see the ugly side of everybody in it, Jamal. But Trump and Newsom, it has really become about 2 people now fighting on this. I mean, right, when we talk about Texas, it wasn't Governor Abbott that became the face of it, even though obviously he's instrumental in Texas adding 5 GOP seats. Trump saying Gavin Newsom is way down the polls. He's viewed as the man who is destroying the once great state of California. I will save California, President DJT. That's why Newsom signs GCN. Newsom's office responded with snowflake emojis. And then a bit ago in Trump-style all caps, today we will make the maps great again. And you're laughing, and I'm laughing. I mean, I would hope people can laugh, except for then you say, wait a minute, this is real.
Yeah.
These are people who really have these jobs, who really have this power, and this is what they're doing.
Aaron, 100 years from now, none of us are going to be proud of this, right? This is a moment in American history that I think we're all going to look back at and say, what were they thinking when the world was having all these major tectonic shifts at the same time? And here you have the President of the United States, the governor of one of the largest states in the country, both tweeting at each other like a bunch of, you know, middle schoolers. I think what Democrats like about Gavin Newsom, though, he's capturing their hearts and minds, is because he's fighting back. And Democrats have felt like they were on the map for a long time.
With his exclamation points and his
Absolutely.
DJT and thank you for attention to this matter. He's going to post it whether someone responds or not. So in that sense, all Newsom's doing is saying, okay, fine.
And what Gavin is showing is that he won't be embarrassed, right? Like, you can't embarrass him. Every time Trump attacks him, he just returns the attack in some other way. And that's one of the tricks in this era, in this big MMA, reality TV on TikTok fight that we're having in politics, is you can't be embarrassed. You got to get in the fight, get in the fray. And if you look at Newsom and you look at what happened with the Democratic candidate in New York, Mondami, they're not shying away from the fight, and they're being very plain in how they communicate with
They're
voters.
not shying away, and they're not afraid of taking the fire.
That's
I
right.
mean, Governor Pawlenty, that is an interesting thing here. Not that success is measured by social media, but it is a measure for Trump, right? Certainly. The governor press office account for Newsom has seen an increase of more than 250,000 followers. There's been more than 250 million views or impressions. 250 million views or impressions, okay? And maybe Trump's clicked on it several times, but, you know, it doesn't add up to that. Could Newsom have hit a vein here? No matter how embarrassed people may be of this moment, Governor, in this moment, could he have hit a real vein in social media?
Yes. In fact, you know, I don't agree with Governor Newsom's policies, but I have to acknowledge he is a very gifted and energetic communicator. And this is a filling a void because the Democratic Party, as Jamal just mentioned, was looking for a more singular voice, somebody who could stand above the chatter and take on Donald Trump. And Gavin Newsom has picked up that mantle. And he's also gifted, or his team is, on social media, and he's got a next generation feel to him. So this gives him relative advantage in the early months of what's going to be a presidential campaign for him in most people's eyes.